Hello again and welcome back. I am Nose and this is my Broforce Browview tier list. I've been meaning to make this for a while now, but life just keeps getting in the way, so sorry about this taking so long, but we're here now. So just some quick things to go over. This tier list was made by @Lucardo501. You can see his stuff down here. And obviously all of his stuff, and the link to this tier maker list, or tier list, is going to be in the description below. This tier list is going to be based off of my opinion and how I feel that these bros are able to handle missions. So I'm going to be kind of specifying on arcade and campaign missions, not so much the PvP or user-generated, like, challenge stuff. That being said, a good bro is a good bro and will probably still be fine. But, I mean, it's Broforce. All of these characters shine in different places. From the top of the S tier, possibly double S tier, all the way down to, like, the worst bro. There are still moments where that bro is going to shine. So, just play who you like. Who cares what a real tier list is? But also, finish watching this video so that I can get all the, like, watches and views and all that stuff. You can't see it, but I'm putting up 2 thumbs. Anyway, I'm also going to say, I'm not really going to throw in a bunch of, like, edited clips or anything. It's mostly just going to be me talking about bros and putting them on the list. Because with 41 bros, even if I put, like, 30 seconds of bro, we're going to be looking at over an hour of video. And I don't want to do an hour of video. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. So first off, we have Ash Brilliams. He is fast, has some pretty good damage. His special is a dash that can reflect bullets as well as cause fear, but it doesn't always reflect bullets and doesn't always cause fear. Sometimes is enough, but like also when it doesn't work, it's really odd. His melee attack is capable of killing large mooks and will cause fear because he just kind of shoves his chainsaw into somebody's stomach, but it takes a long time. Because of that, I'm actually going to go ahead and give him a B. Next up, we have B.A. Broforce. He moves very smoothly. That's going to be my big statement here, is he has a very smooth, fluid play style. His flame is constant, so as you're moving, it's constantly going. It's short range, but as long as you're moving and holding your flamethrower down, you're basically jumping into people and setting them on fire. People on fire kind of run away and scream, so they're not attacking you. And his special is a very large explosion of fire that also burns people, sets them on fire, and makes them scream. He works great. Next up, we have the Boondock Bros. These ones, I've tried them. I just don't really like them very much. They're 2 subpar bros that, when you put together, don't really make a good bro. I kind of like the idea behind them. Like, I've liked similar characters of you're 2 characters in one, or 1 character being played by 2 people. Like Cho'Gall from Heroes of the Storm, for example, can be really fun. But the Boondock Bros just don't do it. And their big gimmick is if one of them dies, they enter into this rage mode. And, like, there's a time pause for a second when you enter rage mode, and it just... I don't know, more often than not, I find myself, one of my main Boondock Bros dies, and then the other one also dies too at the same time, so it doesn't even enter rage mode. Their special can call a third person or resurrect a dead bro, or one of the other Boondock Bros that has died, but yeah, they're a D for me. Next up, we have Braid. He is fast attacks. They do pretty good damage. His special is a powerful digging tool, and he's invulnerable during his special. All in all, he's a solid A very solid and easy bro for, newcomers and experienced players alike. Next, I have Brochetti. Brochetti has an insta-kill melee that kills large mooks. It fears, and his primary attack throws machetes that knock back, so he doesn't often hit corpses. That being said, his attacks are kind of slow, and he only throws a couple of daggers at a time. His special is a flurry of daggers, and it can be omnidirectional. Not omnidirectional, that's not the right word. You can move it, up, down, left, right, and any of the diagonals. So it's a very powerful tool for directional digging, but he just doesn't have a ton of charges of it, and it is just him attacking. So if you're in the middle of a fight, it's actually, I believe, faster DPS to just attack than to use his special. But the ability to dig up and down is nice. He just isn't a really good bro for it. I'm going to go ahead and be putting him at B as well. Next up, we have the Brocketeer. Brocketeer he's fun to play, but I don't think he's very good. His primary is one of the weakest in the game. Most of his damage actually comes from his jetpack when you're jumping around and the flames are going out, but that's also super low damage. He does have high mobility, and his melee attack has like a little charge mechanism behind it, but it just doesn't really save him when it comes to damage. His special can do a ton of damage if you can get right up on somebody. So using his special while you're standing in the same spot as an enemy will kill everything that isn't a mini boss or higher. And if you can lock up right onto an enemy and just special them a couple of times, you can stack tons of damage. But it's a very dangerous playstyle and very opposite to this like fast moving, high jumping that he is as a bro. That being said, if you can get him on a propane tank, he can skip almost every other level. Just propane tank, launch him into the air, and he is gone. But all in all, I am placing him in C. Next up, we have the Brodator. Brodator is has a high damage spear attack that does knockback, and the spears can be climbed on, though that's more of a bonus that doesn't really matter. He also can charge his spear attack to increase the damage and the range. His invisibility, or his special is invisibility, and it allows him to use his shoulder cannon. All in all, I believe he is an A-ranked bro. Honestly, he could definitely be an S rank if his invisibility lasted longer, and if his invisibility either lasted longer or while he's invisible, you could choose when to attack. Next up, we have Brodell Walker. Brodell uses a shotgun. It does high damage. He's a very fluid, and as a Chuck Norris, he has his own specialized melee set. That being said, Brodell Walker's special doesn't exist for like half of the game. Brodell's Walker is the airstrike. So if you are underground, under structures, or if there's just stuff above you, it doesn't work. And because of that, I can't justify putting him above a B. In fact, I kind of want to put him at a C, but I'm going to keep him at B because that's kind of my first guess. Next up, we have Broden. Broden does a ton of damage, both with his lightning and his melee attack. He has a special movement teleport ability. His primary attack can cause corpse explosions, and his charge attack can reflect bullets, and, well, it's a charge attack. It's not quite as powerful as Braids, but mixed in with the teleport and the corpse explosion, he is definitely an S rank bro. Next, we have probably one of my first dark horses, Bro Dread. Bro Dread has some pretty good damage. His special is amazing. It's an RC rocket that causes fear on enemies and, well, can be controlled. It's RC, remote controlled. That being said, his primary attack is really what's going to drop him down. So while it does do decent damage, and it homes. So if you're just, in a standard-ish situation where there's a dude in front of you who's about to shoot you and kill you, so you need to shoot him, but there just happens to be a bro in a level below or above you, and your bullet tries to curve to hit them, you're now dead. And that's a very common thing to happen to Bro Dread. So I'm going to go ahead and put him as a C, though I will make a special note that his RC rocket is amazing in hell, as the flying skulls, any fear effect or stun effect causes them to drop. Next up, we have the Brofessional. The Brofessional has a silencer on his primary attack, so it misses corpses. His special ability is a wave that targets, where his sidekick will then snipe those targets. If they survive, the snipe can actually happen multiple times, allowing it to do tons of damage against larger targets and bosses. But the thing that's going to get him into this tier is his melee attack, because his melee attack allows him to teleport, and it is a multi-directional teleport. So I'm actually going to put him above Broden, as Broden can only teleport left or right. The Brofessional can teleport up and down as well. Next we have Brophy. Brophy has a pretty decent damage, and her special creates a wave of fire that can resurrect you. My big problems here with her resurrection is that it's localized. So while it lasts for quite a long time, it doesn't move. You can't do anything with it in most of the areas, because it just stays there. And it's very picky about when it does or doesn't burn or spread. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give her C. I will note that her Holy Water does do damage in Hell, making her a B-ranked bro in the Hell levels. Next, we have Burt Bromer. Burt Bromer has high damage at long range. His special does a ton of damage, is a targeting special, and can be dummy fired in case of emergency. The only real problem I have with Burt is his recoil. Otherwise, I think he might have made it into S tier, but with recoil, or his recoil on keyboard is definitely going to be an A tier. That being said, in like with controllers, when you can kind of joystick flip to use that momentum a little bit better, he is definitely an S ranked contender. So next we have Brohard. Brohard has fast attacks that don't do a ton of damage, and he has a flashbang grenade that causes confusion. It is a wide area confusion, but confusion just isn't the best debuff in the game. Against certain bosses like Buff Satan, it can be very powerful, but just general level wise, it sucks, honestly. It can be useful for speedrunning because you're just skipping the fights, but I'd much rather an explosion that killed enemies than an explosion that makes the enemies maybe kill themselves, if I'm lucky. Because of that, he is going in C. Next up, we have Brohart. Brohart has a high damaging sword attack. His special is a vitamins-like effect that increases his movement, jump, and attack speed, or movement speed and attack speed, and his jump height. And his melee attack, he throws his sword. That thrown sword can reflect bullets, and by pressing down when you throw it, you can kind of plant it just in front of you as like a bullet shield. The main problem I have with Broheart is if you throw his sword, sometimes it can go over the cliff. And he doesn't get a new sword when you refill his, or when you pick up ammo to refill his specials. So if you lose his sword, it's just gone. Because of that, I have to say he's going to be B. If you could get a new sword when you re-got ammo, he would be an A-ranked bro, without a question. Next up, we have Bro in Black. Bro in Black's attack does some pretty good damage, and his special is a in front of you confusion ray. Well, as we just discussed with Brohard, confusion is not that great. It causes no damage. Maybe the enemies will attack each other, but they don't attack you, so it can kind of have its niceness in speedrunning or against certain bosses where you're just like, hey, don't attack me, bang, bang, bang. But with Bro in Black, his attack is an explosion with massive recoil. So if you're trying to climb up something and you shoot, it throws him off of it. It's too much of a risk. I'm putting him in D. He just doesn't feel good to play. Next up, we have Brolander. Now, Brolander's kind of a weird one to rank because just by himself, he would obviously fall into D. He has a sword attack. It's very slow attack speed, very slow movement, very slow jump height and all that. However, as he gains special ammo, he gets better. When he has full charges, he is the highest damage attack. He is the fastest moving character, highest jumping. Just passively, he stuns enemies that are near him. His punches cause corpse explosion. He's S ranked. He's the best character and also one of the worst characters. So it's a little bit weird. I'm going to go ahead and, he has a D, he is an S. I'm going to go ahead and center that out and put him in B. And I will note that he does get a lot better in levels with vehicles where you can kind of walk up to like a car or a missile turret or something and smack those with your sword a couple of times and give him a couple of free charges of his special. Next up, I have another Dark Horse choice, Broly. Broly is a high mobility melee user. In fact, I believe he might be the highest mobility character in the game. His primary can reflect bullets, though I've always found that to be really tricky and unreliable. But what really kind of screws him over is his special. His special does almost no damage. It slows down time, and it launches him forward. If he hits a target, he can then make a second attack, and this happens up to 15 times. It can be really useful when you're climbing a tower, because you hit a person, go up to the next story, hit a person, go up to the next story, so you can just kind of bounce up and just skip the entire tower. But more often than not, you're just bouncing back and forth, and you just don't do enough damage to kill anybody. Because of that, I am going to go ahead and put him at B. Mostly just because his special is so bad. Next up, we have Bromando. Bromando is average, very, very basic. He has a rocket launcher. It does explosive damage. That's pretty good. Like, damage-wise, it's pretty good. And his special is a flurry. It is just his rockets again, but multiple of them. I'm going to go ahead and put him in B, though he definitely deserves a little bit more love. He's really risking close to falling down to C rank. Next up, we have Bromax. Bromax has a Dragonfire shotgun, so it shoots out flames, has good speed and pretty good damage. His special is a boomerang that reflects bullets, and you can actually store multiple sets of charges. So you get 3 boomerangs to start with. If you throw the 3 boomerangs and reload before picking them back up, you can then pick up the boomerangs when they land to then have 6. or up to 6, and you can just keep doing this. I don't know the exact number, but there is a number of Bromax boomerangs where you're able to throw boomerangs faster than they, or so much that you have so many that when you throw them, they're coming back to you before you've used them all up. And at that point, you're effectively, if you can stand still, invulnerable. That being said, that's not really something you're ever going to do in a level, but it's a fun thing to think about. Bromax is a fun bro, and I am putting him at A. I like playing him. Brominator is a high speed, or has a high speed attack. His minigun takes a moment to cycle before it starts attacking, which is kind of one of his biggest flaws, because it can take that second to start shooting where you are vulnerable. But it's not that's not the big thing for him. He has a jump melee attack that causes ground slam and shockwaves. His special creates invulnerability, and both the biggest positive and biggest con for him is his gun's rocket dash ability. So when you hold down his minigun, the recoil pushes him backwards, and it launches you backwards at a relatively substantial speed. So by turning around and just shooting, you can launch yourself off in whichever direction you want. This is very powerful for, just getting through levels quickly. Amazing for speed running. You can lock on to people, like lock onto a boss and just do a ton of quick damage to them. But at the same time, if you're trying to make progress, sometimes you got to go bang, 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 hold, bang, 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 hold. It's not the best. And the number of times I have launched myself off of levels, I can't in good conscience give him an S rank. So I'm going to go ahead and give him an A rank, but a firm A rank. Bronan the Barbarian, or Brobarian, is actually pretty similar to Brominator. Would make a little bit of sense since they're both Arnold's. He has decent damage. His attack can charge, both giving it a shockwave attack and just a ton of damage. His special is great when you're underground because it goes upwards, giving you a stare effect. But just the number of times I've accidentally used his ability and either been falling and unable to cancel it, falling into a pit, or I've launched myself off a map. That's just solid A material right there. Next, we have Seth Brundle. Seth has an acid attack that kills basically all normal enemies in a single hit. His special is a teleport that kills all, or almost all, mini bosses in a single hit. And the ones it doesn't kill, it does a ton of damage to. He also has flight that's able to keep him aloft. He can climb on ceilings, and by holding up while you teleport, you can launch yourself and rocket yourself into the sky, allowing him to bypass plenty of tower levels. All in all, I think Seth is probably one of the best characters in the game. With a couple of exceptions for bosses, Seth is definitely top tier S. Next, we have Broniversal Soldier. Broniversal Soldier on his own is a little bit weird because they've recently changed his attacks. Or they recently reworked him entirely. So he used to have one big attack, now he has 3 small attacks. His special used to be a everybody around me resurrect. Now it's kind of more of a steroid that also has some resurrecting, or can resurrect a couple of people. But that being said, I do think using his new steroid ability, it increases his attack speed, movement speed greatly. So he is very powerful for running missions, going through the campaign, And it can self-res if you're under this steroid effect. And it's a mobile self-res, making it so much more powerful than like Brophy's self-res, which is reliant on you being in this area. And yeah, with a little bit of practice, if your body isn't destroyed, you can resurrect yourself moments after being killed, which just kind of puts Browniversal Soldier up in the S rank. As you get the sky's the limit. As you breach those skill ceilings of learning how to self-res, knowing when to pop his special to just skip large chunks, or when to just burn through with damage, Browniversal Soldier is definitely an up there character. Next we have Cherry, and I really hate Cherry. I think she's the worst bro in the entire game. Without any explanation, she is D tier. With explanation, she's just bad. She shoots downwards. In order for you to shoot forwards, you have to kind of crouch, and then in the time it takes for you to crouch and then start shooting, most mooks will have already shot you. There are certain stages where she excels. Specifically the elevator boss. If you can get her on top of the elevator boss, she drills through him in seconds. But in 99% of the game, she just isn't good. Next, we have Demolition Bro. Demolition Bro has a remote bomb that does tons of damage. His special freezes enemies, and while that doesn't technically kill them, it does remove them from the game, normal enemies, for the rest of the game. You do have to kill pure evils to keep moving on, and against some bosses, it doesn't do damage on some bosses. Some bosses it does a ton of damage, and some bosses it just stuns them for a couple of seconds. But either way, he has one of the most powerful attacks in the game, and he is able to defeat worm bosses with his primary attack as a one-shot. If you can get them to swallow his remote bomb, it one-shots them. And I don't know, there's just something special about the way he plays. I think he deserves S tier. He feels like a good breath of fresh air in Broforce to me. Next, we have Desperabro. Now, I said this during my Browview, and it really hasn't changed. Desperabro is the best bro in the game. He is going top of S tier. Honestly, I'm considering making an SS tier for him, but that's too much work. His attack, or his shotgun attack, is powerful. His dash can deflect bullets and is faster than any other bros. His special is a entire map-wide stun for most enemies, and it leaves behind two dudes who will just continuously shoot. And on top of that, he just has passive guitar playing, which has a short air aura, but enemies don't attack anymore within this area. It's super powerful and super convenient. He definitely is deserving of top of the list. Next up, we have Dirty Brory. He's a little weird. He has great damage, and I love his Molotov firebomb. The fireballs from it do a ton of damage, and they don't always do the same, explode in the same way, so sometimes they'll miss, but it still feels good to use. But he doesn't, because he needs to reload after every 6 shots. And so if you hold it down, he just stops working until you let go and let him reload. If he didn't have that, he would be an A rank. But because he has that, he's going in C, because he's the only person who needs to reload like that. It just feels so horrible when that happens. Next up, we have Double Bro 7. Now, Double Bro 7 has a silencer, so his primary attack will miss dead bodies. And he has multiple special abilities, ranging from a martini glass that gets people's attention, which is worthless, but can smash somebody in the head. A jetpack, which flamethrowers in either direction from you. a laser watch which can dig up and down or do massive damage to bosses, or a mask where he pretends to be a mook and isn't attacked by mooks for a couple of seconds. The problem with that is those each come in a very specific order. So if you want to get to the mask, you have to burn 3 other specials to get to it. Then when you pick up ammo, you then have to burn those 3 other specials to get back to it. Like, honestly, I think I'd prefer it if it was a random chance you get one of these 4 and you don't get to pick. But as it stands now, it is just so bothersome and boring to have to just spend specials just to make sure you have the right special. It just doesn't feel good. Next up, we have Ellen Ripbro. Ellen's primary attack doesn't do any damage at all. She has a weird electric stun, so the first attack doesn't do damage, but the second attack does tons of damage, as long as it happens while the enemy is still stunned. It also does cause corpse explosion, and her special is a flame wave that can wipe out entire rooms. Sometimes it digs, but it's also sometimes canceled by walls. She is probably deserving of B, but she just doesn't really mesh well with my playstyle. Because of that, she is going into C. As I said, if she'd get a B, or if I'd put her in B, I wouldn't feel bad about it, but I do think she is more deserving of a C than a B. Next up, we have Colonel Brodock. So, Colonel Brodock is a little bit of a weird one for me, because I honestly think he would be a higher tier hero before the update. So, in the most recent update, he got a slight change to where his grenades, instead of just rapid firing and then taking like 3 seconds to explode, you can now cook them. And while I was hoping for the cooking grenades or the cooked grenades to work and maybe give you some fun interplay, it just seems to have him attacking less. And in a game about shooting people, slowing somebody's attacks down isn't a great thing. Yeah, his special's great. It's a grenade with mini grenades, and it does a ton of damage. His grenades don't do less damage. He just shoots them out less frequently. And because of that, he goes into C. Before that, I think he would have been a solid B, bro. Next up, we have Indiana Brones. Indiana Brones' whip does very little damage, but the mobility you can get from it is amazing. On top of that, with the new patch, they updated so that he has the ability to climb and rappel from the whip. So he can go up and down, as well as swinging. And yeah, that's just solid A material. My only real gripe about Indiana Brones is his revolver is just so boring. Yeah, it does a ton of damage. And yes, it comes from the movie because the actor needed to poop, so he pulled out a gun, and it's iconic. I miss his flare gun. Indiana Brones, when he first came out, had a flare gun. It was very iconic, and they didn't do anything else with it. Almost every other character that's lost an ability, that ability's shown up with another bro. Where's my flare gun? I miss it. I loved it. Anyway, moving on. Next off, we have McBrover. McBrover throws sticks of dynamite. The sticks of dynamites are sticky, they fear people, they explode, and his turkey bomb special attracts people. It's amazing, especially if you're playing through the mission you get McBrover on. Like, if you reset your bros, the mission you get McBrover on is one of the first towers. It's also the first mission you meet the big mooks with their miniguns. And the turkey bomb is just perfect for just causing them to fall off and die like idiots. The only real problem I have with McBrover is his range is just super short. But yeah, he is a solid A rank bro. No questions asked. Next up, we have Mr. Anderbro. Mr. Anderbro has high mobility. His special can reflect damage, not just from attacks, but also from environmental things like the fireball and missile rains that plague so many levels. And, I mean, let's be honest. Before the Broforce Forever patch, Mr. Anderbro was considered to be the greatest bro to ever bro. So, yeah, he's obviously an S rank. No questions asked. I'm going to try not to say that again. We're down to the final stretch, so Rambro. Rambro is the first bro you get. He's very basic. He has a machine gun. It does shooty stuff. He has a grenade. It explodes. Rambro deserves love. Rambro, Bromando, there's a couple of, like, Bro Hard deserve a lot more love, either reworking or retweaking to make them competitive. Rambro is just basic. He does what's on the 10. That's a C. Next up, we have Brobocop. Brobocop has a charged primary attack. It shoots off a ton of shots in a flurry. It's amazing for just taking out entire rooms or digging through walls. But the charge time's a little long, and the wind-up time for attacking when you're not charged is a little too long for what should be a pistol. It has, like, a wind-up time, and why does a pistol have a wind-up time? That's weird. His special is very nice. It's a targeting, or it's a target ability, and you can target the same person multiple times to shoot them multiple times. The only real problem is, unlike Bert, who has the ability to dummy fire, to, like, oh fuck, dummy fire, and just get the shot out, Brobocop effectively just has to be in a safe space to use his targeting ability. And in a game that's so fast-paced, stopping and hiding so that you can select somebody 2 or 3 times is just so inconvenient. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a B rank trait. Next up, we have Snake Broskin. Snake Broskin, his special is a little weird. It is not a revive, but an avoid damage teleport. I have a bit of a problem with it that it expires. I think it's more of a I don't know how to use it properly than a it's bad. But I personally don't like it. Also, I don't like the fact that Snake Broskin is a speed attack. He has 2 SMGs now, where he used to, before his rework, he had a sniper rifle. I think he would be better as a high damage, single, like, slow firing gun, as opposed to 2 quick fire silenced guns. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put him in as a B. I will note that his hang glider, especially if you can get that launched off of like a propane tank, is amazing, and on its own would probably be an S or an A, possibly an S contender, but definitely an A, bro. However, like I said, I can't use his special that well, and because of that, I have to knock him down a couple of pegs. Next up, we have Tank Bro. Tank Bro has an amazing rocket launcher. It does a ton of damage, but it has a very short range. Her special is, well, it's a tank. And the best thing about the tank is anyone can get into it. The real problem with that is a lot of times if I get her, I'm just throwing out her tank to give to the next bro. And that's not a great place to be as a bro. On her own, Tank Bro is relatively decent. But the fact that her tank is better in the hands of other people than her, I think has to put her in B. Next up, we have the Broad. The Broad has fast swinging sword attacks. She has some really good mobility. And her special causes an explosion that does either a ton of damage or just outright kills most enemies. But if you miss her special, that debuff can be deadly. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in B tier. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at this, and in my mind, there's a couple of characters. So you have, like, a couple of sword characters like Braid, obviously DeBride. You have Brobarian, Brohart, but none of the other sword characters really work the same as the Brode. The Brode, I think, is much more like Broly or Mr. Anderbro. And as I'm looking at this, I think the Brode plays better, at least for me, than Broly, but not as good as Mr. Anderbro. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a promotion to A rank. Just like looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and give her a promotion to A rank because I think she is better than Broly, at least in my mind. Next up, we have Time Bro. Time Bro is fast damage. His special slows time for the enemies, but not for you. But it also doesn't improve your stats. Because of that, I have been in more than a few times, or I've used his power more than a few times, and just still ended up dying because there were either bullets flying at me, or an explosion, or things that I might have been able to dodge at full speed, or maybe I wouldn't have, but now I'm just dying in slow motion, and that's boring. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put him at B. Like, in speedrunning, not speedrunning, in, like, when you're trying to move fast, being able to just skip fights with his slow-mo can be useful, but it just isn't as useful as I feel like it should be or could be. And then last, but we have Zebro. Now, Zebro's a weird one. I'm going to be putting Zebro in D ranked. Before I say anything about her, I'm just putting her in at D. The reason why is I cannot get a hang of her. She just plays weird. When she's standing, she swings her sword, but when she's moving, she backflips. When she's backflipping, you can swing her sword, and it does more damage than when she's standing. When she throws her chakram, which is her special, she spikes it. She can stack multiple chakram, and they do like some homing, but none of the homing isn't that good, and her backflip is just so weird, and she's one of those characters who, on her own, if I could just go, hey, I am only going to play with Zebro for a week, she'd probably be great. But because Broforce doesn't let you main characters, it just cycles you constantly through the list, you don't have enough time with Zebro, and the fact that she plays so drastically different than any other bro, I just feel like she's different, and so different that she just kind of doesn't fit in Broforce, and because of that, I think she's a D bro. Maybe if I had more time with her, maybe if I played more levels with just her, she'd be higher ranked, but this is what I'm giving her. Anyway, this is my list, and I'd love to hear all of y'all in the comment section about what you think, who you think I overrated, who you think I underrated. Hell, if y'all want, maybe, like, we're coming up on like 40 minutes now, or we've passed 40 minutes, so maybe I can make another video where I go through each of these lists and kind of order them out. But yeah, let me hear what you say in the comment section. Who do you think I underrated? Who do you think I overrated? Who do you think deserves to be that top of the top S tier? Who do you think deserves to be the bottom of the bottom D tier? And why is it that Cherry is always the bottom of the D tier? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you all go. Have fun.